Hello, John.
Hey, John. How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing
All
fine.
right.
Doing fine. Doing well today. Just another day in paradise.
It is.
Actually, I don't mean that too much tongue in cheek. There's a lot to be said for
Yes.
being back in the Western world, in first world countries. Today, of all days, well, I'm thinking about next week. Actually,
Okay.
it's on my mind.
What is it?
I just found out I'm going to have a root canal and a
Oh.
crown setting and all that great stuff next Monday.
That sounds
I found that out 2 days ago.
fun and exciting.
So with that in mind, let's go on to happier things. We're here in downtown Tyler, Texas, as
Yeah, we
we
are.
have been, and we're on the subject today. Well, first of all, the name of the overall podcast
Yes.
is what?
Soul Treasures from
the Road.
Yes.
And
Why did we pick that title?
that's the thing, is that Soul Treasures from the Road. And I wrote down the first thing that came to my mind when I say that. And when I say that, I mean this. First thing that came to my mind. A gift. Most times unexpected. That unexpected gift enlarges our mind, heart, spirit, soul, and therefore we grow in compassion, love, and wisdom. That's the idea behind these discussions of experiences and of just general thoughts about everyday life. So that's where we're going.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today,
What's today?
what's today? Today is a day.
Oh, what are we talking about today?
Talking about today? Today is a day. The story is going to center around unexpected kindness. Say it again. Unexpected kindness. If kindness is expected, then does that in any way take away from its impact upon another person? In other words, if I have I have a need and I feel like I deserve some kindness today,
More like entitlement.
yeah, maybe an entitlement. I think that detracts from the
Sure.
overall. I think that the whole discussion around this would be around something that's totally unexpected. And that's where we're going with the initial story.
Okay.
With that, I don't know what you think of, a little bit when we talk about kindness, but kindness being something that, in your life, do you expect it?
Well, we had talked about it earlier about true kindness being a surprise.
Being a surprise.
Yeah. So it's I like that.
The idea that it's a
Idea.
surprise. The lesson of kindness for me, it seems to always be ongoing. And that's true
Yeah.
for you, that's true
Yes.
for our friend CJ, that's true for, I think, everyone. My problem in the past with kindness, and I'll explain what I mean by that, is that it's been hard for me sometimes to receive it. And I don't know why I'm that way. Let me get to the story.
Yeah. Tell us an example. Tell
Okay,
us a story
that
about
story.
this. Yeah.
On the road. It's been a while since this happened. So I was on the road
Okay.
for several days, maybe a week, something like that, into central Turkey. And I traveled around into the mountain areas, and then came back through a small city, large town, by the name of Allahshehir. Allah, God,
Okay.
and Shehir is the name for large town or small city.
Okay.
Or a city.
Allah Shahir.
Allahshehir, God City, which happened also to be, in ancient times, the original site of the original Philadelphia in the Greek. There was a city named there, Philadelphia.
Okay.
The original
Yeah, I remember you telling me that,
Philadelphia
yeah.
that's in the book of Revelation. The 7 churches, one of them is Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. So that being said, I traveled through there and spent a few days there as well. Came back into town, and in doing so, stopped at a person that I know. He and his family were in the military there,
Okay.
and they lived on the economy, which means not on any base or anything. And
U.S. military?
U.S.
Yeah,
military,
okay, yeah.
yes, good distinction there. So I decided to kind of pop in, as they say in merry old England, pop in on
Did a
my,
drop-
on my
drop in.
friend Colonel Nick. Let's just call he's Colonel Nick,
Mm-hmm.
and his wife, and he had the 2 young boys, two kids there, and I think a little girl, and so I knocked on the door. It was about 7 or 8 floors up, I think, in the building. Hot July day. I was in shorts, hot, sweaty. He opened the door, and I said, "Hey there, sorry to drop in on you, but wanted to just say hi, how you doing?" And something I don't remember. There was a reason, and I don't remember.
Sure.
And I said, I'm hot and sweaty. Hey, just whatever. And he said, well, okay. He says, come on in. So I came in. He shut the door,
Okay.
and I was saying, okay. And I was just thinking that we'd have a discussion there. And he said, just hold on a second, John. He goes, have a seat on the little settee over here. And he just kind of pointed, and I went, okay, Colonel. So he went, and the 2 boys were there. And so I guess I talked with them, and maybe joked around, and sat down, and sitting there, and kind of like, And he was gone for a few
Resting
minutes.
for a minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then a few minutes later, he walks in with a tub and a towel over his shoulder. And I looked at him, and he walked over in front of me. And he sat it down in front of me. And he got down on his knee. And I had sandals on, I believe.
Okay.
And he says, take off your sandals. And I was like, and he goes, and he's like, take off your sandals. So I took off my sandals, and he goes, put your feet in the water. He goes, put your feet in the water. I was like, and I saw where this was going.
Okay.
And I was like, like a 2-year-old. And I said, he goes, he was looked up at me. He goes, put your feet in the water, John. And I went,
Insistent.
and very insistent. So I put my feet in the water. Bar of soap appeared out of his hand, and he proceeded to take my foot and wash my feet in the water. And I put up with it for about 5 seconds, and I went, no, Nick, Nick, no, sir. I became very uncomfortable.
Sure.
Truthfully,
Yeah.
it's like I don't want him to do this. And he stopped, he looked at me, and goes, so did that, and I said, and I was like, and I said, I just like, that was, I was very uncomfortable. And I said, I really don't want to do this. And he goes, that's enough. We're going to do this, John. Let me wash them. You're dirty. And he said it in the terms that a colonel would say that, even though I was non-military personnel. And I went, okay. So I sat back, and it began to go through my head. Okay, it's okay. So he did a great job. He washed my feet up to my knee. Just all the sweat. You can see rivulets of sweat running down, without dust and all that. So he washed it. Water was dirty. He finished it up, got the towel, dried off my feet.
Wow.
Got up, stood up, put the stuff away. I sit there, walked back in. He goes, okay, what do you want to talk about?
Wow.
So we had our conversation. The whole time I'm going, that was blowing my mind. Of course, the reference being, for me, was washing the feet was the story of Does it make you think of a story in the New Testament of Jesus washing the disciples' feet?
And
I
the disciples
kinda
resisting.
smiled.
Yeah.
I smiled and shook my head because I pulled a Peter on him. Because remember that Peter said to Jesus, "You're not going to wash my feet." And Jesus says, "Really? Then you'll have." He says, "Peter, you'll have no part. What's going on with me?" And Peter says, "Wash my head, too." And the idea being, of course, the story. Now, here's something that went on here. What Colonel Nick did at that moment of time, that act of kindness, that
Surprised
spontaneous
and
act of surprise kindness, blew my mind. It really affected me.
And when you say that, in what way? If
How it
elaborate,
affected
yeah.
me?
What were you feeling?
I was noticing, more than noticing, I was feeling on a deeper level my near rejection of receiving what he wanted to do for me in that moment in time. Because I think I felt, and this is maybe my upbringing, maybe, I don't know how folks out there would react to that. No, I mean, I wish there was a discussion group here.
Leave it on your comments.
Yeah. How would you feel, if somebody spontaneously did that? Here's the thing. This was not a religious act. My feet were genuinely sweaty and dirty coming into their clean home. And I mentioned that to him, not expecting anything but maybe a damp cloth or some paper towels or something, and we'd have our discussion in the foyer, and
Sure.
I'd leave. That was what I thought.
So the colonel bestowed this gift upon you.
Yeah, he surprised me with kindness. I wanted to reject the kindness.
Like
He
most people
was
would, yeah.
insistent on that. And I gave in to his kindness, and then thereby learned a significant lesson about myself.
So you were saying you felt unworthy, or whether it's your upbringing or
Yeah.
it's kind of. I just want to, just a little elaboration on that. Why, as not just you, but as human beings, we feel
Okay.
it's a challenge for us to receive kindness.
It is. I think some more than others. For me, it's always been that way. I'm like, no, I don't want that. And does that show that I'm fundamentally selfish? I don't want to receive it, therefore I'm not obligated
Sure.
to you in
Yeah.
any
That's.
way. Could that be a part of it? Possibly. And genuinely, being reared in a very Christian home, but a very, you would say, kind of a fundamentalist situation, although very loving.
Sure.
But a lot of, there's some guilt attached to a lot of things we did, shame, guilt, and unworthiness. So I'm sure that was a part of how I was coming across there. I don't know. I don't know if you felt similar, if you would, because of your upbringing, if you would relate to that in similar
Sure.
ways.
And we had discussed about if we feel obligated to love our parents.
The idea being obligation, and in traveling in a lot of the Eastern world and where you're from originally, and other places, the idea that if you give something, something must be
Given in return.
given in
Yeah.
return. There's which reminds me of a saying in Turkish. What is it? The Turks have a saying that goes something like this: in order to get their goose, you must first give them your chicken. You like that, huh? Just remember that one. Okay. Anyway, the idea is that being on the road, things like these happen more forcefully than staying in a circle of behavior that's always the same.
Okay.
In other words, how would I encourage, this again goes back to encouraging people to step outside of yourself in order to receive personal gifts of growth. Break the pattern.
And be open to gifts, be open to receive. And
It's a hard thing to receive. For me, it's easier to give
exactly. I was about to say that it's we want to give and it's
than it is to receive. And I could illustrate that with lots of things in my past. And I wonder if that's a good attitude or not.
I don't know.
What do you think? Is that a good attitude? It's
But
just
we're learning and growing.
yeah. And I thought, was it because my friend Nick, the colonel, was it because he was, an officer of high rank in the U.S. military? What would it have been if it would have been just a regular Turkish friend
Sure.
that suddenly did that? Would I have felt the same way? And that's the question I posed to myself. Is it the person that gives you the gift, or is it me, the receiver? Well, I don't know.
It's a little bit of both. I
Maybe
think.
a little bit of both. When somebody offers us a gift of kindness, is it more genuine if it's totally unexpected, as the colonel did for me? It was so unexpected in that he would get down on his knees to wash my feet when I could have washed my own feet.
Yeah.
But he wanted to do that because also he was being a kind teacher right there to little old Johnny, who came in hot and sweaty. He provided a service, and when I was resistant to his kindness, he, instead of just backing off, he said, "No, sir.
You're not going to take this away from me."
You're not going to." That's very well stated, John. Very suddenly put in there. You're not going to take away my desire to give you a gift because you're uncomfortable at the moment of me giving this gift. Is that a lesson?
It certainly is.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Reiterates that lesson. In
Now,
my
before
mind.
we wrap it up, John, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
you had mentioned about kindness and anger earlier. I mean, elaborate a little bit about how there's a juxtaposition between kindness and anger.
Yes. In other words, when do we feel anger? Well, hopefully, we feel anger because we see an injustice. And so we did not expect to feel the anger. We just reacted to the moment of seeing the father smack the child, or the person taking advantage of someone else in a way that's like, oh, that's not right. And then our emotion rose and we felt anger. Is anger wrong there? Is the feeling of anger wrong?
That's appropriate.
It's appropriate. So it was in the moment in time, it was in the spontaneous reaction that the genuineness of the anger is appropriate in that instance. Kindness. Kindness is best served when it's in the moment of time that is so unplanned. So maybe kind of in a closing thing, closing thought, just kind of coming out this way because of your question. When you're out and about today, when I'm out and about today, when we're all out and about today, be kind, but pay attention to your circumstances and be kind in a surprising way that even surprises you in that moment of time. Surprises you that you're like, I'm not going to ignore this. I'm going to do something because at this moment of time, from what I see, I can do this little thing. I can give this, I can do this, I can say these words. I can do something then and there that I never even planned on doing.
Sure.
And that's what makes it real. And that's what makes us real as human beings and as people that want to be gracious
Yes.
to all the gifts we've received. So be careful when you go outside today.
Or just be present in the moment. And it's,
Can we end with a quote?
absolutely.
A quote in time. It is a dangerous business, Frodo, going out your door, Bilbo used to say. You step into the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there is no knowing where you might be swept off into. John, always a pleasure, my brother. Peace to you out there.
Thank you.